Let's just start with Jimbo Fisher being fired by Texas A&M. The buyout there is $76 million or something. And the
Yeah.
previous highest buyout anyone's ever given was something like 23 million. So this is just insane. Like the amount of money that Texas A&M was able to cobble together to get this done is ridiculous. And it kind of it's a little bit funny because it comes off of dropping a 50 burger on Mississippi State in a big, like a massive blowout for Texas A&M. But yeah, if you step back and look at it, 45-25 in his tenure there, not exactly getting it done for what their expectations are. What are your thoughts on this whole thing, Ashton, big picture wise?
Okay, so the previous high, as far as just in terms of buyout, like the most someone had paid was Gus Malzahn when Auburn fired him. And that was, I think it was 21 billion and some change. This is, I think, 3.5 times that, like not 4 times that, but I mean, darn close. And money doesn't even matter there. Like it's just a made up statistic. And I don't know if you follow European soccer. I'm not trying to lose anyone here, but there's a couple of clubs that the Saudis bought. The government or the national fund there. They purchased Newcastle, they purchased PSG. And pretty much their strategy after they bought these clubs is just to throw as much money at these clubs as possible. Like we're going to buy all the players. Texas A&M is that version they're the college football version of that. I think they have kind of unlimited money out there. It's oil money. They just keep pumping more, I guess. In a weird way, just stay with me here. I kind of respect this. This is a sick flex if you're an A&M guy.
True.
Like we paid $76 million for our guy to not coach. And he took them to a New Year's Six bowl. It's not like they were awful all the time. They've had some bad years, but overall they weren't terrible. He recruited well. I don't know. I think in a weird kind of twisted way, this almost raises their ceiling. Like I think that people will take note of this. People will take note of this. That's for sure.
This is a big job. Like people want this job. So Ashton, maybe you don't. Forget about what they will do. Like, what do you think they should do?
Okay. Again, bear with me here. Jim Harbaugh wasn't doing anything Saturday. Like, he's not going to be doing anything the rest of the year either. Okay. Harbaugh has flirted with leaving for a couple of years for Michigan. That's nothing new. I mean, he does that on the regular over there. And we know he's got some trouble, right? Kind of coming his way. Like we'll see if after the 3-game suspension happens, he was already suspended for 4 games to start the year. That's 7 games total this year that he didn't coach or won't have coached at the end. And we'll see if that's the end of it. Harbaugh would do amazing things in College Station. I really, truly believe that. I think he'd be a good fit. Now that's probably, that's a pipe dream. Like that's a long shot. He probably goes back to the NFL before he does anything else, but I'd call him, make him tell you no. Why not?
That's a good point. You're right. Everything you said there is right. He would do a great job there. I also think it's much more likely he ends up in the NFL next year than anywhere in college other than Michigan. What else you got? Okay, let's assume Harbaugh just said no and hung up the phone. And where do you go next?
Lane Kiffin, I think, would do a tremendous job there. I've thought about this a lot. Before Kirby actually got everything turned around and started winning championships, Kirby was kind of in the same place. He could recruit very, very well, and he had great classes, and you were great in the composite. But you showed up on Saturdays, and it felt like you didn't have the advantage in coaching on game days. Like the other guys were better game day coaches, and Kirby just recruited better. That's what it was for a while, and he's changed that now, but that's what it was for a while. I was like, hang on, I really considered this in 2019, 2020. What if we fire Kirby and just bring in a super genius play caller? We'll be bad in 3 years, but we might have a glorious run for 3 years and win championships with the players that Kirby had already brought in. That's kind of I don't know. I've also went there. So I've been through all of this stuff, but I think Kiffin with what he's doing, I think they'd be a playoff contender next year at A&M. I think they have that kind of talent. Look what he did at Ole Miss. They have nowhere near that kind of talent at Ole Miss.
Do you
They
think they would
actually
be happy with the number 9 recruiting class, which is probably what he would bring in?
who Kiffin? You mean?
Yeah, like I don't think
Yeah,
I don't he calls himself the portal king, and that's great. I don't think
right.
he would be quite as much of a grinder on the recruiting trail as Kirby Smart, for example, or even a Jimbo Fisher has been. Like their recruiting would get worse. I think their overall result would probably be better. But do you think these Texas A&M boosters that are dumping piles of cash into this program, would they be okay with the number 9 or the number 12 recruiting class year over year?
They would be okay if it meant that they went 10-2 or 11-1. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it'd be okay if you beat Alabama every now and then, or LSU, or yeah, like that would make it a lot more okay, real fast. It was a results based thing. Like I really don't
Yeah.
think that it was a recruiting thing. I really don't. They know what they have there at A&M. Those boosters, they know what they can do. They've proved it. Yeah, I there's always going to kind of be a floor at A&M with just with the resources you have. I mean, you're in Texas too, so
Mhm.
yeah, like they have all kinds of interesting possibilities. I think it's a good idea they got rid of Jimbo. Are you ready for a couple of more names? Like
Yeah.
I've just
Yeah.
been way too eager for this. Lance Leipold is not
Ooh.
going there, so I don't want to hear that. I understand it's a good fit. He's not going to go there. I don't. Yeah, I just don't think it works in the SEC. I'm just kind of out on that one. I heard Dion quite a bit today. Dion
Ooh.
Sanders. No,
No.
no, come
Nah. You
on,
need
no.
stability.
Yeah, not at A&M. What are we doing? We need someone to come in and treat this. He needs to be a CEO a little bit more than maybe what Jimbo was. So the some of the other names, Dan Lanning, I'm sure that one's a very popular one. Mike Elko, who was there just a couple of years ago as a DC, doing a great job at Duke. That's another one. Yeah, there's a ton of names. Everyone's going to be thrown out for this. By the way, this will be the most fun coaching search that I've been alive for. Like, I really think
Yeah.
that this is going to be wild. The amount of money they might make this next coach. I mean, he's going to be one of the top 5 highest paid coaches. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
saying he's going to be the highest paid coach. They're going to come and pay someone a lot of money to coach there. They really
Right.
are. They can get almost whoever they want.
I I like all those names he threw out there. I'll throw a few more smaller names that maybe might not be like the big name hire that everyone gets excited about, but would still do a good job. Jeff Traylor would do a good job there, I think. And
Sure.
they could do a lot worse than Mark Stoops. I'm just saying. Like, I know
Yeah.
that would not be an exciting hire. I think they would roll quite well if they hired a guy like Mark Stoops. So,
It it's kind of boring, like the Stoops
right.
hire. And
Isn't
I
that kind
think
of what they need?
maybe so. Maybe it is. It's kind of like eating your veggies a little bit. Like it's what would be good for you.
That
I
would
I
be
do
like Brian
think.
Kelly to LSU a little bit.
Yeah, well, Kelly to LSU had a little bit more pizzazz
A
because I
little
mean
bit, yeah.
he had playoff appearances right at Notre Dame,
Right.
and Stoops is nowhere near that. I mean, granted, it's a lesser program at Kentucky, and he's doing a good job at Kentucky. Like, there's no doubt that he's maxing that program out. Stoops is, but I don't think that's going to work. I would be very surprised if that happens. I think he'd do well like on the field. I think they have a good football team. Like, I think
Mhm.
he would do well on the field. I don't think it would fit. A&M's unique because it has to work with, like, you have to be able to fit in the same room as your players, as your coaches, but also fit in the same room as the country club guys and the oil barons. Like, you got to make
Yeah.
it all work. And I don't know if Stoops would be able to play that game well enough.
Mhm. Another head coach just got fired, Zach Arnett at Mississippi State. And this was a guy that we weren't sure about. Obviously, last year you lose Mike Leach to who died unexpectedly. So they promote the defensive coordinator there, Arnett. Makes it less than a full year. And even since he got fired the other day, like there's stuff coming out. Um, some people were just really upset with the way he kind of handled that whole situation. Firing guys that were kind of promised extensions by Mike Leach before, and just completely changing the offensive system from what was working really well, honestly, with the air raid there under Mike Leach, to trying to go man ball in the SEC, where almost every other team in the conference has more talent than you. Just didn't really work very well. And yeah, so this is an interesting job. Like, it's not a super high profile job. Like I said, like, you're Mississippi State, you cannot out recruit basically anyone else in the SEC. Obviously Vanderbilt, and then that's about it for a consistent basis. Where do you think Mississippi State should go?
So Dan Mullen's just sitting there on
Right.
ESPN right now. Dan Mullen was born to be the Mississippi State head coach.
The
Like he
best
was
coach they've ever had.
He was great. He was
Yeah.
fantastic there. I think that's going to happen. I really do. I think that's not just buzz. I don't think that's like the Dion to A&M thing. Like that's just kind of a lot of hype. I think Mullen back to Mississippi State has real substance to it. It works there. He's done it, and yeah, like, and to your point about the Arnett thing with the offense, I've heard a lot of that the last couple of days, really the last couple of weeks, as well as people not liking his offense. And like, I understand to a point. I do think it's unfair, completely unfair to fire a guy. He didn't even get a full year. And that's early. Like, there's a lot of guys that have really, really rough year ones and are able to turn that around. So he was a bridge guy. Like he was not an actual football coach. He was an interim that got extended pretty much because they didn't know what to do and they had a lot going on. I mean, they had their coach, passed away. Like there was no precedent for that really. So yeah, they had to figure something out, and he was what was available, and that's what they took. So Arnett needs to go to LSU and be the new defensive coordinator there.
Go, yeah.
Like we all understand that. That's easy. And Dan Mullen just needs to leave the SEC network. Is it ESPN or the SEC network? It's the same umbrella. But yeah, he's on one of them channels, and I actually like him kind of as an analyst. I hated his guts as a coach, but like it kind of works because he does play. He plays a little bit. His style at Mississippi State was a little bit like Arnett style, where it was really physical, but he mixed in some really neat things scheme-wise.
Yes.
And he was clearly a great developer of quarterbacks over his years at Mississippi State and even prior. So yeah, he did some interesting things scheme-wise that Arnett just didn't do. I think he should. I think that works. Even Arkansas, like you could maybe go there. So Mullen needs another job. We need to get Mullen. If not, maybe Michigan State. How about Michigan State? I think he'd work there too.
I think for Mississippi State, they have to do something a little bit unique. You can't just hire somebody who's going to, like I said, try to play man ball against the rest of the SEC, because everyone else in the SEC is going to do it better than you because they have better talent than you.
Right.
They needed to find something a little bit unique. Mike Leach was unique in that system. Like, everyone had to prepare a little bit differently for Mississippi State under Mike Leach. And when Dan Mullen was there, again, like kind of a unique offense that he was really good at.
Yeah.
You had to prepare a little bit differently when it was Mississippi State week. How about now? I like your Dan Mullen idea. Obviously, that's a great idea. A lot of people have thrown that out there. He could become the Mississippi State lifer. Let's assume he really enjoys TV. He really enjoys spending time with his family. He doesn't want to go coach again. Let me throw a name out there that I think would make a lot of sense. I think Jamie Chadwell would make a lot of sense for Mississippi State. He runs a unique offense. He's proven to be successful at multiple stops. He's got Liberty rolling right along in his first season there.
Sure.
He's improved them, honestly, under, like, they're probably better under him this year than they were the last year or two under Hugh Freeze, who took the Auburn job. Like, I think Jamie Chadwell could step right into Mississippi State and do a really good job, even despite having lower talent than everyone else in his conference for the most part.
I think that's it. Yeah, that's a really good name. We thought maybe him to Auburn, Jamie Chadwell to Auburn instead of Hugh Freeze, a year ago. So yeah, no, he seems to be like he's made for the SEC, that guy, Chadwell. So yeah, I don't know. He's kind of into, like, he's been coaching down in the South for a while now. Feels like he'd be a good fit. I have no problem with that one. That's a good one. At Mississippi State, I do think it's really difficult when you're like, you have the program surrounding you. You have Alabama, Auburn, even Ole Miss, LSU. Like those are your rivals. Those are the guys you're going to compete against for recruits and just compete on the field, like with like on game day. So it's a tough world being a Mississippi State fan. And I don't think that Mullen got the respect maybe that he deserves for having them where he had them before he left for Florida. They
Right.
were a force there for a few years and a really tough team to beat. So yeah, a lot of respect for what he did there. They again, we've seen it now. Like it started. There's going to be a domino effect. Now that we've started these firings, we're going to see sitting head coaches leave for other jobs. I really believe that, especially with the reshuffling of conferences. I think we'll see it quite a bit this offseason. Guys trying to go get into the Big Ten or the SEC because the money's there. Like that's the job that you want if you can get it. So a lot of things are going to change this offseason. I think this could get a little crazy, and it has started now.